Well, it's so nice to meet you. I'm loving the brown hair,
Thanks. Nice to meet you too.
but I feel like the platinum blonde was your signature for so long.
Yes, I know. I know. Michael loves the brown, but he says the blonde has a special place in his heart. So maybe I'll have to go back to blonde one day.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is Zachary Reality, and you are listening to Zachary Reality. Why does he say that?
I think just because like I've always been blonde. I was blonde when we met, and it just I feel like me when I'm blonde, but I think this is like my brunette era right now.
Ooh, see, I'm in my redhead era, which I was born into. I could never dye my hair.
Having naturally red hair though is like so awesome. I feel like not that many people have it.
Yeah, my grandma has it, so it stays in the fam, which is why I have it. But we
Love
are
it.
here today to chat with Amanda Stanton. She is from The Bachelor. She is from Bachelor in Paradise. She's a mommy. She's a blogger. She's newly married. Did you know that I was in Solvang the same weekend as your wedding?
Were you?
Yeah,
Oh my
Memorial
gosh,
Day
what were you
weekend.
doing out there?
I have some family friends, like my dad's friends from college. So we go there every Labor Day weekend. And when I was there, I was like, oh my God, Amanda's getting married. I need to
That's
like
so funny.
make a TikTok about it. But that weekend, my TikTok account got hacked.
Oh
But
no.
I got it back 2 days later. And the first video I made was about your wedding.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored. I know it's actually so funny because I we had never been to Solvang and we found that venue and we loved it and it's so cute. Now I want to keep going back.
Were you just looking to get married like at a winery?
So, no, we were just looking at like all outdoor venues, but we were super particular. Like, we didn't want to do it at a hotel or anywhere that was public. And you'd be surprised, but there's not that many places like venues that are private or estates. So, we found that one and we loved it.
It looks so pretty. It looks very like enchanted with like the magicalness and like the outside forest. I'm like, this is what I need my wedding to be like one day. Wait, so was this your first wedding or did you get married to your kid's father back in the day? Because I feel like
I
I don't even
did.
know this.
Yeah. So, I did get married back in the day, but it was so different. I feel like I was so different back then. I almost felt like I had to marry him, if that makes sense,
Just
because we had a
because,
kid. I
okay.
got pregnant when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so I think I just always felt like, okay, well now I have to get married and like make it work. But it didn't last long. So this was my second wedding.
So how long did your first marriage last?
Gosh. I mean, less than a year.
What was that wedding like?
It was small. We just
Yeah.
did like a small thing. It's actually so weird when I look back at those photos because I'm like, I look like a child. Like it's so crazy to me. But I think I tried to like erase like any of those photos like online and everything, but I think there's still a couple of them on Google.
Yeah, the Amanda Stanton stands will find anything about you
Yes.
or want to know anything because they're loyal and they're just so curious. There's so many like people online who are just kind of funny when they're just trying to like find out like all these little details. But like this
Right.
wedding was like your actual wedding because you said your other one
Yes.
was so small. So what was it
Right.
like planning it and how did it go? Did it go exactly how you wanted it to?
So we had a lot of fun planning it, but it's funny because we went through so many phases. Like when we got engaged, it was around the holidays. We waited until the new year to like really start thinking about it and planning. And originally we just wanted to elope and like go to Aspen and have like some of our friends and family come out. And it sounds so easy to do something small like that, but it actually was like so much harder because we're like, how do we only invite 10 people? And then it
Yeah.
was like their spouses, and it just turned into a bigger thing. So finally, we were like, okay, let's just have like a somewhat more traditional wedding. And then we actually ended up planning our wedding in like 2.5 months.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you like
So it
book a
was quick.
venue that easily?
Yeah, it's crazy because 2022 there were so many weddings, and I know so many people were having such a hard time finding availability and stuff. But we got really lucky. We actually planned two weddings because originally we were doing in Aspen, and
Yeah.
again that didn't work out. So we decided to do it here. We booked it and planned it in 2 months.
And turned out like exactly how you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some things like I think if I had a year to plan, which
Yeah.
we could have, we didn't want to wait that long. Maybe I would have like added some things or changed things around, but for like I think pretty much everything we got done, everything we wanted.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love the
Yeah,
TikTok with you spinning around. Like you're just such a princess. I feel like you radiate like fairy godmother like sparkles. Do you ever get
that's
that?
so nice. Thank you. Sometimes
Yeah. So how did the kids like the wedding? Kins and Char, how are they doing?
they loved it. It was actually their first wedding that they've ever been to. So I feel like they didn't really know what to expect. And I don't know if you saw the photo, but like Charlie got really emotional. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
she was expecting that. But they loved it. They had so much fun.
And were they your maid of honors or was one of them the flower girl?
Charlie was flower girl, Kins was maid of honor. And I know some people were saying, like, oh, that's mean. Was Charlie upset? But that's like, those are the roles that they both wanted. So they were both
Mhm.
really happy with it.
Yeah, and I mean, if anyone follows you, they can easily tell that you are just like such a good mom. Your kids are literally your best friends. Like anyone can
Yes.
see that with like a brain. So I would never take any mommy backlash seriously because you are definitely doing a good job. Like you are mommy goals. A lot of people are asking how you and Michael met.
So we actually were friends for a while before we started dating. Kind of a funny story, but like we met through mutual friends, and he had like set me up with one of his friends, and I set him up with one of my friends. And luckily, nothing ever happened with that, but we just stayed in touch. And then in 2020, we were both in Aspen at the same time. So we just met up for lunch just as friends. And I don't know, it just, I think that was our first time ever hanging out, like just the two of us. And I was like, oh, I think we actually like each other. But I never thought of him for me, even though I had known him for like 2 years. So
That's like the best way to do it because then it happens like organically and natural and it doesn't feel like forced.
it's nice too, like being friends first, because then you don't have to go through that whole like just getting to know each other phase. Like we already knew each other. So it made
Yeah.
everything a little easier.
And are you guys gonna have a kid? I feel like you said you wanted a boy, right?
I really want a boy. Yeah, I think probably sometime this year, if not early next year, we'll probably start trying.
Okay, well, maybe it will just
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, well, definitely excited. Let's talk a little bit about Bachelor and your time on the show. I mean, we can't really relive everything, so we're not gonna get into the details and stuff, but like people would probably want to know like how you got on the show to begin with. Were you watching the show first? Were you a fan of the show?
So, I mean, I obviously had seen the show before, but I wasn't like a big fan. I actually never watched TV until like the last year or so. And
Wow.
funny story, but my mom secretly nominated me, and she didn't tell me that
Okay.
she had nominated me. So one day I was just at home and I get a call from like some random number, 310 area code, and I just ignored it. And I got a voicemail and they were like, this is a casting for The Bachelor. And I thought it was a prank or like a joke.
Hmm.
So I started like texting everyone I knew. I'm like, did someone nominate me for this? And finally, my mom was like, I did. And so I went in for the interview, and they kind of had told me, like, when I went in, they made it seem like I was on the show right away. I still had to go through casting weekend and all that. But yeah, it's kind of funny because the day that I had to leave to go film, they have someone come
Hmm.
pick you up. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm not going. I changed my mind. My bags were packed. I was like, I'm not doing it. My mom basically like pushed me out the door to go.
So
So thanks,
she
mom.
really encouraged you to do it, and then you
Oh,
ended
yeah.
up there. But what were you
Yes.
doing for like work back then? Like, what was your life looking like? Were you always being doing like an influencer and like content and stuff, or did you pursue that after the show?
I mean, it wasn't really as much of a thing
Yeah.
back then, but I definitely was into Instagram. I used to like match with my kids and like take cute photos even before the show. But that's pretty much all Instagram was back then. There wasn't like this whole influencer industry that it is now. But I went to school to be an esthetician. So I was in school and I graduated from like the beauty school, but I never ended up working because I went straight on the show. So
And then
I do still have my license.
did things just like fall into place for as far as content wise and like opportunities after the show, especially because you were at like the peak when it was all just like starting?
Yeah, and I honestly back then had no idea that it was going to be that crazy and like, what was going to happen after the show. But yeah, I would say it was pretty immediate when I got home that like the opportunities started coming up, but it was also so different back then. We did like FabFitFun. I
Yeah,
think I
yeah.
did like a flat tummy tea and
That's just like
yeah,
the 2010 era. But so
yeah.
what do you think of like TikTok now and how social media has changed, especially with like Gen Z influencers?
Okay, I love TikTok. And I think I'm like kind of late to the game because I'm in my 30s now and I like just started getting into it the last few months. But I will scroll on TikTok. I don't even really look at Instagram that much anymore.
right?
I love TikTok, but I will say it's hard for me to get into like posting on TikTok because I'm so like used to just like taking photos and posting them on Instagram. So it's a struggle for me to do it, but I love TikTok.
Yeah, like it definitely is. I feel like it comes naturally for people who can just like record themselves getting ready all the time
Right.
and like film it. And
Yes.
like I've tried to do that, but it's just like I need to get ready. Like I can't worry about pressing the button and then my hands are like, gross with like water or like skincare. Like I don't know how people do it. Do you have any like favorite people you
Right.
follow on there
Gosh, who are some of my
other than
favorites?
me?
Well, obviously you. Um, who else do I love? I just like I scroll on my For You page. I don't even really like follow people on
What's like your
TikTok.
niche? Like do you have like niches that you follow like food TikTok, story times?
So I am obsessed with makeup TikTok.
Yeah.
I feel like I have fully like learned how to do my makeup in the last 2 months just from being on TikTok. I've learned so much.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
I
my
like
favorite.
have you seen Meredith Duxbury? She puts like a
Yes.
million foundation on her
Yes.
face and it's just
I'm
like
obsessed with her.
I
Yeah.
don't know how
I
she does
love her
that.
videos.
Okay, a couple more Bachelor questions. I think a lot of people would want to know. Were you surprised when Lauren and Ben broke up?
Yes and no.
Yeah,
I was really close with Lauren, so
of
we talked a
course.
lot. So not I guess not as surprised as maybe some other people.
Yeah, yeah. You might have got a little bit of a heads up.
Yes.
Do you regret going on The Bachelor in Paradise for the second time?
Um, I did for a little while, and now I just don't really care. So
Yeah,
no.
of course. I know that's why it's like so weird, like talking about things from so long ago, but like there's a couple questions that I'm still like curious about.
Yeah.
And I feel like people still want to know, like, did Robbie ever actually cheat on you with that girl in Colorado?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. And then he was just lying about it at the tell-all to like save himself.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I mean, that's what I figure, but it's so hard. It's really hard in reality TV and it's still an issue. It's that like people lie because they want to like protect their image, right? And they want to
Yeah.
protect like what people say. But then it
Hmm.
becomes really unfair for the viewer because then we don't know who to believe because we want to
Right.
give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So how did you deal with that at the time and what advice do you have for people now who are going on reality TV?
Gosh, I mean, that it honestly is really tough because even for me, it's like, you're like, oh, well, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And then someone who obviously wants to protect their image is like, well, no, it didn't. You're lying.
Hmm.
And I understand obviously why people want to protect their image because they don't want to look like the bad guy. But I feel like this happens a lot and it's just always so confusing to me because I'm like, well, if you're going to go on reality TV, everyone is going to be so involved in your business.
Yeah.
And
You
if
have
you
to
want to
just let
protect
it
your
out there.
image, why don't you just not do bad
Reality
things?
TV or do
You
reality
know?
TV.
Like, yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, like looking back, I think I posted like some stupid tweets because I was like heated at the time. And I didn't even really care that he like cheated on me.
Yeah,
I think I just more so cared when someone's like, oh, well, you're lying. And then people, honestly, I think most people believed me, to be honest.
for
But
sure.
looking back, I'm like, God, I should have just shut up. Like, who cares?
It's not worth the energy. So then what
No.
advice do you give to people who are going on reality TV now? Because now it gets messier with social media and the screen grabs and the text messages.
Yes. I would say, and I know it's like so much easier said than done, and like in hindsight, but people are always going to have something to say and just like not letting it bother you. Cause, I was on the show 6 years ago, and to anyone who like goes on and is dealing with some kind of drama, like I promise you are not going to care in like a couple years.
Or even a couple
So,
months.
yeah, you just get over
Yeah.
it. You don't care anymore. But in the moment, I get it. It's frustrating, especially when
Yeah.
like so many people have something to say.
It gets so heightened, like even with Bachelor Nation drama, like now when it's happening, like it's just like becomes like everyone's world, I feel like in the moment.
Yes.
And then the next week you just move on to the next news cycle. Have you like kept up with the show the past couple years? Like are you planning on watching Zach's season or are you kind of checked out?
So we don't really watch The Bachelor. We did watch Clayton's season, and that was the first season that I have actually ever watched because
Wow.
I didn't even watch it when I was on it because I don't like
But
watching
don't you want to
myself.
like know what's out there?
I don't, it's not, I've tried to watch and I don't know why I can't get into it, but I do love Bachelor in Paradise. Michael and I watch Bachelor in Paradise every season. So
Okay.
we watched this last one and I thought it was so good.
So
I
what
thought that
was
was
your
like one of the best seasons.
it was okay. I think it used
Really?
to be
Okay.
better. It used to be
Yeah.
better, right? But what was your take on like Victoria, Johnny, and Greg? Were you team Johnny or were you siding more with team Victoria?
I felt bad for Johnny, but I'm also like, I guess I'm team everyone.
Of
But
course,
I
yeah.
understand why Victoria, I don't think she did anything wrong. You gotta do what you want to do sometimes. So
Yeah.
I support it, but I did feel a little bad for Johnny.
Yeah, I felt bad for him too, but I feel like they can bring him back next year and give
Yeah.
him like a redemption story. So we'll see. Who was like one of your favorite girls from Clayton season or like top two or three, like the new girls, the new year? Because we're about to get a bunch of new ones and I'm not even ready to like know who they are.
It's so funny. So we watched Clayton season, so I knew like quite a few of the girls, but we didn't watch The Bachelorette, so I didn't know any of the guys on Paradise.
Yeah.
I know you just asked about the girls, but I loved Rodney. And
Yeah.
then for the girls, I loved Brittany.
Ooh. From Matt James's season.
Was she from Matt's?
She
Yes.
had
Okay,
dark
so I
hair. Yeah,
liked her.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was super cute. Who was the other girl that I liked?
Gabby,
Teddy.
Rachel, Susie, Teddy.
Teddy, I loved. I'm just thinking Paradise.
Yeah, yeah.
And I still don't know. Wasn't there some kind of drama why she left the show or
Yeah.
something?
So she left the
Yeah.
show, right? Like she just left after Rodney was going to ask her on a date. She was vibing with Andrew. And then she
Yes.
put on Instagram that like people tried to test her boundaries in authority. So a lot of people assumed she was talking about the producers, which I mean, I can also confirm that that's what I heard too from people. So do you think the producers could have like really tormented her that much, or was she just having like a breakdown and felt so pressured?
I mean, I know I don't like not taken away from anyone else's experience, but when I was on the show, I never really felt like manipulated by the producers. But I will say this is like actually kind of a funny story. I don't know if it was something similar that happened to her, but when I went on Paradise for the second time, it was kind of hard to convince me to go on the show because I just
Because you already did it.
was, yeah, I was like over it. They really had to convince me. So I was like, okay, I'll go, but I want to be on the very first day. I don't want to be coming on later. I need to be original cast. And if I decide that I want to leave, then I want to be able to leave whenever I want. Like if
And
I
not
decide
feel
I want to go
stuck.
home. And they were like, of course, you can leave whenever you want. And it was so funny because that was the season that there was the whole shutdown and everything. But right as that was happening, I wanted to go home. I was there for like a day and I was like, I don't want to be here. And I was trying to find the producers to tell them I wanted to go home. And it was obviously the executive producer who I was trying to find. And he just like was hiding from me. He would not talk to me because he knew I wanted to go home. So he just hid from me. And
So,
then
that's
I
so
ended up
funny.
staying. But
Oh my
yeah, I was
God.
like, of course.
That's so funny. So did you feel like you had more leeway because you were coming back to Paradise for the you were coming back to the show for the third time and maybe you had a bigger following than some of the other contestants. So did you feel like you had more of a say?
This is like kind of funny, but I feel like everyone wants to feel the producers are really good at making everyone feel very like important coming into Paradise. Like everyone's like, oh, I got paid more, I this
Yeah.
and that. But I think the reality is like we're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
And I think they know that people are going to do it. I definitely had some requests, but like I said, then they hid from me. So
They hid from you.
yeah,
Did you ever find them?
no, never. Well, I mean, after I decided to stay, then he came back, but he was intentionally hiding from me.
I'm dying. One thing I've always like wondered about the show and everything is that the producers, everyone always talks about them, right? Like the producers, the producers. Is it almost just like taboo to not bring up their names? It's like they put everyone else in the limelight. Like, why can't they like hold themselves accountable? You know, because they're so
Right.
involved in this drama. It's just like this third party that's this non-entity that's controlling so much.
I think maybe it's just because like usually when people are talking about their producers, it's on a podcast and like it's easier. People know what you're talking about if you say the producers than if I were just like, oh, Ashley did this. Then people are like, who's Ashley? And you're like,
Yeah.
as a producer. But I think only like the real like super fans really know like who the producers are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I've seen a few of them around, especially at like I went to Bachelor Live on Stage whenever they do like a Bachelor like pop-up shop for to promote a new season, I always show up. So that's how I
Yeah.
like get to know the producers.
The one that
Yeah.
hid for me was Alon.
Oh,
So
okay. He's gone now. Did you ever
yeah.
watch his he did FY Island and then the Prime Video show, the one that got away. I don't know if you heard of that one.
Yes, we watched both of them.
Have you
We
seen
loved them.
Selling the OC?
No.
Oh my
And
God.
it's funny because the Oppenheim group is like
Hmm.
down at the end of my block right here.
Oh my God, I know
So we've
exactly
been
where you
there.
live. And you're right in
Yeah.
Newport.
Yep.
Have you always been in Newport?
No, I was in Laguna. I was in Irvine, then Laguna, now here in Newport. But I love it here the best.
See, you're an Orange County girl through and through.
Yeah, I think so.
I love that. Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you some fire questions from the Q&A on Instagram. Now, these might get like a little messy, so don't answer if you don't want to. We can always cut these out.
Okay.
But I feel
Perfect.
like I need to like some people are dying to know. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start with weirdest thing a fan has done, or like someone that's come up
Um,
to you.
I can't even think of one. I did have like a stalker who was sending flowers to my parents' house for a while, so that was a little weird.
How did they get your parents' address?
I have no idea. Like we don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you take
So
the flowers? Did your parents keep them?
so my parents were living in another state at the time they were renting their house out, so it was the tenants that kept getting the flowers. But no, I didn't go pick them up. I was like just throw them in the trash.
Oh my gosh, I'm dead. Someone asked who was your wedding planner?
My wedding planner was my friend Talissa. I've actually been working with her for a long time on like the girls' birthdays. She's the best. She's Events by Talissa on Instagram.
What is your favorite restaurant in Los Angeles?
Gosh, probably Elefante. It's basic, but it's good.
Me too. Do you have any lessons you learned from your exes?
Gosh, so many. Um, I mean, I think this is another thing where like in hindsight, it's 2020, but once I started dating Michael, just seeing how like easy everything was and how it just flowed and made sense and it just worked, it makes you realize, made me realize in the past, like, gosh, I was like forcing so many things or like didn't like all these things. And like it is possible to just find someone who it just works with. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just comes with like life. Like, sometimes we
Yes.
learn from experiences and relationships. We talked about how you and Michael met. Someone said, is Charlie and Kins difficult?
They can be very difficult. Yeah.
Like, what's
They're
the
very,
hardest part of being a mom?
I think just for me anyways, like I just like want the kids to like listen to me in like certain ways, like when it comes to like life, like they'll be getting bullied at school and I'm like, trust me, like you will not care about this. And it's just it's hard sometimes when you have the knowledge that like your kids don't have yet through life experience. So that's probably
Yeah.
the hardest part for me.
Because you want to just like tell them straight up. That's like such good advice. That's what I would say too. Like, this does not matter. Like, hello. And like, you talk to your kids like they're adults, which I think like makes them smarter and like just like
Yeah.
gives them more self-awareness.
Right. Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
hard sometimes.
Who are you closest with from Bachelor Nation?
I'm still very close with Lauren, the twins, Raven, Becca. Gosh, I feel like some of us like have kind of lost touch, but I'm still
Yeah.
friends with everyone. But that's
Yeah.
probably who I'm closest with and still talk
Yeah.
to regularly.
And Amanda got sent here through Raven. She was like, you need to
Yes.
interview Amanda next. And then she wants me to interview Tia,
Oh yeah.
which I think would be like kind of juicy. Is there anyone you would recommend that I interview? Like somebody who just like really wants to spill all,
Gosh. I mean, I would have said Raven. I need to listen
right?
to hers.
You
Um,
do. You can think
yeah,
about it and get back to me.
I will.
What are your thoughts on Jesse Palmer being the new host? Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you think that the show is now just so different?
I think he's doing a good job. I don't think the show feels that different. It's funny because I feel like Chris Harrison was just like the poster of
For
The
so
Bachelor,
long.
but I think it's kind of like it's only like a small part of the show. I feel like the cast in The Bachelor is really what matters, right? But I think Jesse's doing a great job.
Yeah. And what are you up to right now? So like tell me what you're doing today.
So today, after this, I'm gonna go pick up the kids. They get up early on Wednesdays, and we're going to Disneyland. But that's
Ooh,
not a
cool.
typical Wednesday for us. But
Yeah.
we've been planning this for a while.
Oh, cool. And so what are you up to right now? Like what do you have working towards? We're gonna kind of wrap this up. So tell everybody like where they can follow you and like what's going on, what you're planning, and what we can look forward to.
I'm not really working on much right now. Just kind of just enjoying like a quiet, peaceful life and hanging out with the kids and my husband and working. And you guys can follow me on Instagram. It's at Amanda_Stanton with 2 N's.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here. If you guys are listening, be sure to give this video a thumbs up or rate and subscribe if you're listening on the podcast through audio. Thank you all. Thank you, Amanda. And we will see you guys later.